Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Brian Ferentz, aka Kyle, here on Tuesday, October 31st. Kyle, I love your costume.
Brian Ferentz, does that mean I'm like fired at the end of this year? Am I off the podcast next year? Is this how you
You
broke
start
the
you
news to
rocking
me?
an Iowa sweatshirt there, and you look like you're trying to conceal your identity. So he seems like a guy that doesn't want anyone to know who he is.
I'm a little cold. It's Halloween, right? But spent a lot of times outside today, and it's way too cold for this time of year up in the
Uh,
Great White North. We're literally white today, so just still warming up a little bit.
Well, we got plenty to cover. I mean, like I said, it's Halloween. I got a good treat for you as a part of the intro here. But we will talk some golf. We do have the Zozo recap from 2 weeks ago, and then the Worldwide Technologies Championship, which is going to be a really interesting discussion there. But let's start with this just to get this out of the way. Halloween 2023. It was a weird weather day in Minnesota. We had snow. There was a little bit of sunshine. Wasn't that bad. It was probably 31 degrees outside this evening, but I was happy to say that my middle child, my 3-year-old, was the champion of the family. He stayed out by far the latest, got a nice big haul, and I had a lot of fun tonight.
So break this down. You guys went back in shifts. I take it.
So we had my three out there. We were with another family that had three, and the older one started peeling off. My oldest, I don't think she was feeling that great, so she went back with my youngest, and it was just me and the 3-year-old for till about 8 o'clock. So
Well,
he got a big haul. He got a big haul, and I don't think he's three. Like, you don't know what to do with it, but there he
yeah.
is on the table with it spread all over the kitchen table. So
Our two and a
I
half
think we're
year old
feeling
was
good.
complaining his bucket was too heavy at one point.
We had the same argument, and I
Hmm.
finally convinced him to pour it into the bag that was holding all of my beer, and he thought it was like he would never see it again if he parted ways with it out of the bucket, and it was fine. But
So I will say I almost stole your vibe tonight with the high alcohol dark heavy beer because that I mean on a day like today that is a good play. Uh, but I didn't have the good setup for it. So walk me through this. Do you go little like Dixie cups? You're giving out a little bit samples, or how do you play it?
my vision for this has not come to fruition yet, but every Halloween, I like to break out my bottles of Surly Darkness, which we've talked about Surly on the podcast. It's probably the flagship brewery of Minnesota, but you and I don't really. We like to go there, but like the product is not that great, and we've kind of fallen out of favor at the brewery in general. But Darkness is their Halloween release Imperial Stout, not barrel aged, and I have been collecting them. And so I usually go back like 4 years and grab one or two and bring them out. Now, some years I brought little cups out to share. Um, in my mind, I'm sharing with like 20, 25 people and everybody wants some. In reality, nobody wants any except a couple of my neighbors that I'm walking around with. So I just bring like metal tumbler cups,
Okay.
with like the plastic like lid, and that's what
Yeah,
we
yeah.
drink out of. So tonight we had a bottle of 2019. This is 2020, but 2019 Surly Darkness. It was still really good. I'm going to put 2020 back in the cellar, and then I also brought a can of Burial, which I went to Beer City, USA a couple of weeks ago, but this was mystifying endeavors for an unintelligible equilibrium. So kind of a spooky themed can here, but Galaxy, Citra, and Strata, 8.5% double IPA, incredible.
Awesome. Good stuff. So I almost ripped off your bit tonight. I was telling my wife about it. It's like, well, if Mike does this, like I want to be the guy that just gives out awesome beer in our neighborhood, right? But I have a bunch of bourbon counties that we need to
Hmm.
drink up. We figure out a plan for it. We've talked about that before. And I was like, well, I'll throw one of the bourbon counties or two of the bourbon counties
Hmm.
and get them cold quick and go. But I started to do it too late. I only had big cups. I'm just like, logistically, this is not going to work. I need to plan this out better. And for the future, so instead, I was dressed up as a construction worker, full hard hat, vest, everything, walking around with our kids. And I had a Carhartt jacket on, so I just stuffed a couple beers in that.
Mm-hmm. I I get the impression that like the folks in my neighborhood don't want to drink quite as much as I do on Halloween during trick or treating. That's my biggest barrier so far.
Interesting. See, I would think your neighborhood would be more apt to it than mine.
This isn't Jordan's neighborhood. That's the thing. It's not Jordan's neighborhood.
Yeah, Jordan's neighborhood by far, and I don't think that would surprise any of the listeners that Jordan's neighborhood really likes to get after it, and hence we don't have Jordan yet tonight because
I don't know that he's coming.
He's too busy drinking. But so our neighborhood, the funny thing, we showed up, wife and I had beers in the pockets and everything, and no, we do this like neighbor block picture and everything. No one else has a drink. And last year people had drinks and we showed up without a drink. And I was like, well, what the heck's going on? But the second I brought mine out and just said, forget it, I'm going to crack it.
Mm-hmm.
Then everyone walked back on their house and got something. They were waiting for the gateway guy. And I was the gateway guy. Yeah.
You just got to own it. Like, you just got to own it. So, well, it was a good time. And everyone was in bed at a reasonable time. So here we are, potting on Halloween 2023. The only other topic, I have a good bit for you golf-wise, but I went to Pinehurst this weekend. And I don't know that we can cover the whole thing. Not that there's that much to talk about, but what do you want to know?
Well, good little teaser for our trip next year, right? We keep dropping nuggets about that, but we talked about it last pod. What courses did you end up at? What courses did you end up on, and how was it?
We played 1, 6, 7, and 5 twice. We played 5 twice. And then we played the Cradle, which is their 9-hole par 3 course. The course record on the Cradle was set by Vanderbilt star and like the number 2 dude on Vanderbilt behind Gordon Sargent, Jackson Von Paris, who is from Pinehurst. Last summer shot the course record on the Cradle of 18. So that's and that included a par. So he had a hole in one. He actually started like 2-2-2-2-2 1 2 2 3 like just and these holes are probably anywhere from 50 to 115 yards. So sometimes the par 3 courses are like full par 3s, but it's a wedge course. But yeah, I mean, Pinehurst is awesome. It was 85 degrees and sunny every day. I played good at times, mostly bad, but that's end of October for you. I have not been playing much, but had a good time. It's the vibe at Pinehurst has really changed. My dad has been vacationing there since the late 80s, and so he is like, as far as that's not OG Pinehurst, but like he's been going there from even before like destination golf was like really luxury golf was really a thing. And so I've been going there since the early 2000s, and the resort has really changed to be more like a sand valley, more like a abandoned dunes, where the goal is to keep you on the resort as much as possible. Lots to do, putting courses, par 3 courses, lots of golf, dining options, just hangout areas. 20 years ago, it was like you play your golf and you just, get off the resort and go eat somewhere else in town or whatever. So the vibe is different. They actually, and this is no joke, for the US Open, this is what they are building, a 5-mile section of, there's a railroad that runs right next to the resort. They're building a 5-mile section of another track so that this entertainment car can bring people in from another town, and like they'll just like sit next to the golf course and have like bar cars and lounges and other stuff on this train. So it's just
I'm intrigued.
It's just a much different vibe, and it's all good. Like, it's really cool. It's really cool, but just a much different vibe. So we got our tickets for Thursday at the US Open, and you'll see what it's all about.
So I feel like those courses you threw out were a little different than you originally said. But you also mentioned you had one round you actually scored pretty good, even with some out of bounds balls.
I hit 8 balls out of bounds in 5 rounds. So the courses we were playing were very tight, between houses, OB, both sides. Like, you could run a ball 20 yards off the fairway and you'd be out of bounds. And it would just kind of like it get hit in the front in the first cut and just truck its way through the rough and bounce into someone's yard. And that's just the nature of some of the second tier courses there. Just kind of wind through some of the houses and all that. 2, 4, and 8 were somewhat off limits. A lot of resort play. It's really busy this time of year, but some of them are good. Like course number 7 is like a private course within the resort, and it's Reese Jones, so part of the Robert Trent Jones family. So it's a little bit different architecture. It's all really good golf. But if you get it hit at crooked on 6 or 5, like you find yourself out of bounds pretty quick. I did make 2 eagles, which were a 40-yard hole out and a 50-yard hole out. So that was kind of fun. The 50-yard hole out was after I hit it about 340 on a par 4. I also hit a ball out of bounds on a par 5 and then hit my what would have been my second shot, but actually my 4th shot to about 6 inches. So it was kind of an eagle, but it was actually a par.
So those courses you mentioned that are super tight, let's avoid those during our Friday and Saturday golf next year, if we can.
There will be some opportunities to play. I hear probably those courses specifically will be open, but there's other places we can go in the greater area. So, but here, let me run this by you. I have, before we get into the Zozo, trick or treat golf style. I have a couple of statements. I want you to tell me, is this a trick or is this a treat?
Okay, all right.
Okay. Tell me your thoughts. Feel free to debate. Getting paired with randoms for a round. You got a tee time with 2 or 3 people, and you get paired with a random. Is that a trick or a treat?
No, you want to avoid that at all costs. I mean, that doesn't matter. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't end up with a good random. I had one really good experience this year, but you're hitting on a hand you shouldn't.
All right, so that's a trick. It's funny because I think of myself as I'm the one that's often joining groups that have a hole in them, and so I'm like, maybe they think it's a trick, and I'm the random.
It depends on the type of course you're playing as well,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Like we played, we've had some decent draws together, but a public track.
How about?
Yeah,
I know it's a grab bag. How about hitting your last shot of the day great? Is that a trick or a treat?
Treat. You got to have something that brings you back. Like that's the age-old adage, right? Like,
yep.
You've had a rough day, and then that last one feels good. You're like, yeah, I'm back in. But you need that. I want to come back. Let's do it again.
Hole out from 100 yards for bogey.
Of course. Like, when do I make it from 100 yards? So for me, treat. Always.
How about getting to play in the Pro-Am at the 3M Open?
Hell yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, some people might say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to suck in front of all these people and a professional. I want to hold people up.
I'm not going to do it, but can we get you out there?
Heck yeah, oh, no, so I'm asking you.
Well, no, I would do it too. Forget it. Okay. It's a 3M.
All right.
Who's out there on a Monday?
Probably, yeah. I get it. How about this? I wonder, we're going to... Somebody from Live somehow gets reinstated on the PGA Tour in 2024.
I would only take one person, I think.
Is that Brooks or who?
Brooks. Yep.
Okay.
Like, Brooks. If you put Bryson back on the tour, no, fuck off.
How about winning your neighborhood league with a DFS lineup that would have contended in the Millie? Trick or treat?
Ooh. Well, it depends. See, this is the thing. You can't say, oh, I could have won the Millie if you never played the Millie. Or, and not that I'm a guy that plays Millies, but like even a higher stakes GPP, because I'd prefer to do that over a Millie. So that would be a trick if you normally play in those contests. But get out of here if you say, oh, I could have won it when you never play it.
I know. And think about how much money you would have lost
Yes,
leading up
exactly.
to that performance. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, last one, having your wife see your DK 1099, trick or treat?
Treat, right? Like,
I don't know. That's I don't know. It's
dust
like
off your shoulder. Like, yeah, look
I
at
know,
this.
but it
What
comes in
up?
a
Let's
positive
go.
balance, and you say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that money in the checking account. What do you mean? What do you mean you
Well,
gained this much during the year?"
it's all reinvested. All reinvested.
All right. Well, what do you drink tonight? Then we'll jump into the Zozo.
So I switched to Fair State Pilsner fairly early in the evening, and just nice lighter one. Because standing around the fire for a little bit, smell like campfire here. Longer
So
evening.
did you end up bringing the BCBS out, or what was stuffed in your pocket then?
So no, I didn't. Because it was at that point we're scrambled. I didn't have a good way to serve it. So I brought one War Pig's Foggy Geezer with me on the
Mm,
initial jaunt around the hood. And then kids retired or not, and I went back and to the neighbor's fire with Fair State Pilsner.
gotcha. Good stuff. All right. Well, there was a professional golf tournament 2 weeks ago. It was called the Zozo, and it's tough because it's played literally overnight. You get to you almost get to watch a little bit in the primetime hour of the previous night. But I'll be perfectly honest, I did not get a chance to watch a lot of it. Colin Morikawa won by 6 strokes. Um, and so I don't even know. I don't even know if the final round on Saturday/Sunday was at all interesting. It's not like the weather got kind of dicey, and so it kept the scores down a little bit. But what do you got from the Zozo looking back 2 weeks?
Yeah, he balled out on Sunday. He was in position, had a not great Friday, so he had a good Thursday. And it's hard to think back on when we actually saw it relative to when it wasn't actually in the golf tournament. But round one was good. Round two fell back to the pack a little bit. Got really hot in round three after it started with a double. So showed some life and then just tore it up on Sunday. Uh, my biggest takeaway though, Mike, was that Zozo, the lifestyle brand as we established on the last
Lifestyle
pod.
brand. That's the
Yes.
right way to call. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You can order the suit that in a like a scanning device, or I don't know if it attaches to your phone, that like you wear that's like skin tight and it scans
Hmm.
your body and judges thickness, I guess, fat content. And you can use that to judge the like performance of your workouts.
Hmm.
So this is what
So
Zozo can do for you.
you said you guys wanted to talk about Zozo Suit or Zozo Fit. it- I looked it up online. Do you wear it like 24/7? Do you wear it just to work out? Do you put it on once every day and it scans your body and it just looking for change? Like, what do you do with it?
I took it as the latter, but to be fair, to your point, this was late at night. I don't think I could ever watch golf till about 10 o'clock. So I maybe watched an hour and a half. And they just showed the commercial was this guy in like a gray suit, like getting scanned by this laser and Zozo Fit. And then it would show the website, which I never went to. So you know more than I.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. It was like honestly, it's like we all wear these like little fitness bands. It was the equivalent of that, except literally a spandex bodysuit.
Yeah,
So
it would just be like, oh, beer belly here. We're gonna. It's getting better.
uh,
It's getting bigger.
I don't even I don't want to know. I don't think that's going to take hold in the United States. But back to the golf. We did, the no cut format. I'm still trying to get it nailed down year to year on where our model is going to do the bet. We do not tend to have a lot of success here, and partly is because the way that our model works is we're looking to set that high floor, particularly um, looking for consistency in made cuts. And so when it's 4 rounds of play and everybody's in, and you got 6K guys that get to play for 4 rounds, like anything can happen. So this again I looked across all of our power index cohorts. It was pretty weak. I did okay contest wise, but this is kind of a punt week for me, and we look ahead to something like the WWT this week.
Yeah, I went pretty light on lineups just because of everything you said and it being an odd week and not something we put a lot of time and effort into. That being said, we will shout out, the folks that were on Morikawa, Jeff Ulrich at DK Nation, Spencer over at Rotoballer, Hogberg at RotoWire, and Vincentia at GPP. Cash Lab plays. I didn't have a lot of him, but had a lot of Minwoo Lee, who finished pretty well. Eric Cole was pretty strong in. And Adam Svensson had a lot of love in our model and finished well as well.
All right. Well, that's probably enough on the Zozo. It's just this time of year where we just we just don't get too much into it. It's hard. You said it last time, last pod. You get football on the weekends, you got college football, pro football, whatever it is. You got baseball still going on. It's just hard to get behind some of these tournaments. Doesn't mean I don't like making money, so we're still gonna try to do that. And that's what's most important. But I'm really excited to talk about the Worldwide Technologies Championship.
I like that we're switching it up. It's we're away from the Greg Norman venue that Victor Hovland dominated in the past, right? So a little bit of difference this week. Different designer, which I'm sure we'll get into. And if there is a strong part of the fall swing, we're getting into it.
It is a fair point. We are going to get some slightly better fields coming up, and ultimately we'll get to the Hero World Challenge, which is, will be the strongest field we'll see until January. But here we go. Worldwide Technologies Championship is going to be played at El Cardonal at Diamante in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. You're right. This does move from Mayakoba, which Russell Henley won last year. Victor Hovland torched the field the previous 2 years. I don't recall exactly why the PGA Tour moved away from Mayakoba. I don't think it was because of Greg Norman and Liv, right? That was specifically why. And then Mayakoba had a Liv event in that first Liv season. But so here we are at El Cardinal. Let me ask you this, Kyle. Do you have any idea, like, kind of what makes a TGR design, Tiger Woods's golf architecture business? What makes a TGR course?
Well, I listened to some of his interviews about the design of this course, and he states, I can't say if it's actually true from a golf architecture standpoint, but that he likes to give options and makes it all about the angles.
So in order to do that, typically when especially on these modern courses, if you want to have options and angles, you make the course gigantic. And this is essentially like what you have at some of these places like a Sand Valley, where 100-yard wide fairways, and it's like you can take route A, B, or C. And I was looking at the overheads of El Cardinal, and this course looks ridiculous. And I don't mean that in like a good, really cool way. It's like I don't think I've seen a property like this.
I want to say that if you mapped out the landing areas of where most drives would be, it is the widest on tour. The only one that's even close would be the old course at St. Andrews, which you basically have 2 fairways of landing zone.
Yeah, the holes are incredibly large and wide, and there is one body of water on the golf course, and it looks like it's about just partway off the tee box on a short par 4.
Yeah, only one play. I mean, it's a resort course through and through. Tiger has said it himself. Initially, it was not designed to be a championship course. I think they've tried to pivot a little bit with what they could do from the championship tees to make it a little bit more interesting for a championship event. But as you said, Mike, wide fairways, it's pretty long. So I think there is bombing options, but you bring out those washout areas into play. There's the deserty washout, whatever you want to call them specifically. This course, we called them something different, the US Open at LACC, but it's a similar vibe to that. Paspalum greens. So again, resort course guys, resort course putters. They're big greens. They're very open on the front. You can run the ball up if you would like. I think it's going to be a score fest. I think somebody could threaten, high 20s, maybe even 30.
You missed the biggest, probably the most important feature of this golf course, or this property, I should say, is this swimming pool that is like the size of the driving range. Have you seen that thing?
No, I did not focus on the swimming pool.
Hold on. I feel like I need to like.
Is
I
that the
feel like
one water? Is that the one water hazard in play?
you know, it's not in play, but it sure see here. You know what? Just for the YouTube audience, I'm going to bring this up because I want you to see. Look at this golf course. Look at this swimming pool.
Oh,
Do you see this? It's like a
that is-
man-made lake, chlorinated.
well,
But
it's
yeah,
a little lagoon.
it's got a water park. It's got all this stuff. But yeah, so like here's the one water hazard on the golf course. This looks to me like guys are going to be driving this green or getting close to it, so that water's not in play. And other than that, you have just really incredibly wide holes. Some of these looking like they're almost two holes together. So, yeah, gonna be really interesting. I agree with you. It is high 20s, 30s, and so that brings us to then what do you look for? What does well, and what you're seeing in our model, do those guys do that?
I think that resort course vibe, man. You got to be a good putter and Paspalum greens. There's a couple, you have your handful of events on Paspalum every year. Those are always the resort course situation. You, again, using that resort course filter, you can have some winds come up. So guys that can handle that. Length is not going to hurt you. There's no rough whatsoever. But if you do get off kilter, you got to be able to scramble out of the crap. So don't mind throwing a little bit of scrambling in it. But I would use that Paspalum resort course filter heavily this week.
All right, so what do you got in the model? I mean, I'm looking for guys. I hope we're just seeing guys that hit it far and then can make birdies.
Yeah, I like that. So Ludwig leading the way. That makes a lot of sense from what we've seen from him so far. He's 11-2 this week, 66% on the mention share. MPI loves him. All the guys over at DK Nation are on him. Rick Gaiman's on him. Sobel Action Network is there. Makes a lot of sense. 11-2 is going to be a little hard to fit in lineups probably, but I can't hate you for trying to find a way. Both Hostler, and I meant to pull this up, Mike. I should have before we went into this, but 900 on salary this week, 41% mention share. Our NPI loves him so far. And Bo is the guy that can get very hot with the putter. Spencer Rotowire, Brandon Godula loves him. I believe he was top 5 on putting for the tour last year. He can be good off the tee, but his approach game can get pretty wonky. And that does concern me a little bit with the very large greens. Granted, he can maybe make up for it with his leg putting, but you're 80 feet away. That's going to be a little bit harder to make up. And then we have a whole bunch of guys coming at 33% mention share so far. Some of your resort course guys, Akshay Bhatia, Brandon Wu, played well in some of these smaller field events. But you also have Callan Tarrant, Davis Thompson, guys longer off the tee, and then somebody from top of the board, Sahith Theegala, all coming in at 33% so far.
All right, so if I got to take, I guess just start right off the top. Like it seems I can get a lineup to work with Ludwig, or Luddy, as I'm hearing him his nickname come up now, Luddy. If I can get a lineup working with Luddy, which 11-2, I mean, it feels like he could almost be close to 12K in this field. So not that 11-2 is a discount. I just don't know that I want to get too far into the 6Ks. So I have to probably find 1 or 2 6Ks that I really, really like if I want to go with Ludwig. But I think you're right. The stat profile fits the field. He's going to be able to hit the ball wherever he wants, and we know he can fill it up. Bo Hostler, our power index loves him. You probably got to find a way. If you're not playing Ludwig, I could see starting with Bo Hostler. Second at the Zozo, seventh at the Shriners. We did not get strokes gain data um, at the Zozo, so I'm not quite sure where he ended up on putting that week. But he gained almost a little over 2 strokes for the event or a little over 3 strokes for the event at the Shriners. So he's been putting well. Great form coming in on 2 top 10s. So I could see going back to Bo there. Um, and then I was trying to find someone maybe a little bit further down. Michael Kim was intriguing. He's been putting well lately. 3 made cuts. He had a top 5 at the Wyndham Championship. I know it was before the playoffs. Finished T18 at the Shriners, gaining over 4 strokes putting. So any of these guys that have the ability to pop putting, I'm willing to take a chance. So Michael Kim might be my value play that I want to take a closer look at.
I like your thought process there, Mike. I do like Callum Tarrant this week. I know I mentioned him at 7,600. Pretty strong on MPI. Some of our good performers this fall are on him over at DK Nation, Ulrich Zelensky. So promising there, can hit the ball a long way. And we've at least seen him have had pop weeks in the past. So that's why I think it makes sense in a course like this. I do like Kelly Craft as well if you're trying to save some money. He out of nowhere, he's only 6,800, but the last 4 finishes, like he went from completely, the worst guy in my DraftKings Rainmakers lineups, cars, 33rd, 25th, 23rd, and 16th. Yeah, so he's ranks 8th in this week in the field and strokes gains the last 3 months, and he's super cheap. And when you look at putting on past palm greens, he's 5th in the field. So I think you can do a lot worse, at Kelly Craft at 6,800. And then another name I'm going to throw out is Ben Griffin. Go back and look at. He's only not getting a ton of love for so far, down to 7,900. But go look at his performance last year during this time of year and some of these similar type of contests, weak fields, past palm greens. I think he could be someone that has shown he's coming back and that just thrives in this type of environment. But at the top of the field, I think I'm going to try to find a way to squeeze Ludwig in. I've been avoiding him for most of the fall, but when I look at Sahith, even Cameron Young, we haven't seen much lately, I feel a little bit better. Or Bo Hostler at 9.9. I mean, that's only a 1,300 price difference to go up to Ludwig, and so I think it's an event to do that.
Yeah, I am with you there. Here's what I don't buy. I don't buy Lucas Glover at 10-1.
Yeah.
Hasn't played since the Tour Championship. He had his incredible run, obviously, at the end of the last season, technically, going into the playoffs. He hasn't played a professional golf tournament since August 27th. So how do we put him as the 4th most expensive player on the board? I don't buy it.
I agree. And I mean, they probably had to do that from a price point, but this isn't where I want to play him. Right?
Yeah, what about his game? What about his game sets up well?
Yeah, give me a Parkland style golf course, a grinder's paradise, where you have to throw darts from a ball striking perspective. That's where I want Glover, not where winds can pick up and you can spread it anywhere.
Well, and you talk about making birdies, and you got to have someone who's not afraid to shoot 25 under. And so even going down to someone like Carson Young, and I know this is just one data point, but Carson Young, what he shot 62, 63 in US Open qualifying earlier this year.
Mm.
You want a guy that's got that in the bag, that's not afraid to go and make a ton of birdies, because that's what it's going to take. And so I know that's on here. I do feel like someone like, again, in the 10K range, someone like Sahith can get that going. But that's, again, that's why I think Akshay is getting the kind of love here, is because on these resort courses, when you do have to shoot 25 under, these guys they thrive. So No thanks on Lucas Glover. That's not the type of game he's bringing.
I 100% agree, Mike. Everything you said there. The last name I did want to give a little bit more credence to, we talked about him at 33% mention share already, but Brandon Wu, $7,300. Just again, a guy that you see pop at these type of courses. You look at the last 24 rounds on pass palm courses in general. He's the second in this field in strokes gained total. Good with the putter, good strokes gained overall, but just a great tee to green game. So this is just his type of field. This is a Brandon Wu type field, Brandon Wu type course. I like it, especially at that price point relative to trying to pay up for some of these other guys. $7,300. Let's go.
What do you got for tiers? You gonna play tiers this week?
So this is interesting. We've thrown a lot of these names out already, but you look at tier 2, you have Bo Hostler, who our MPI does like. So I realize I'm going against the grain here, but I don't think I trust his game enough. Like he hasn't been an elite putter for long enough to trust a guy that's just going to be hot with the putter. We talked about the shortcomings in his iron play. So I have my hesitation there. JJ Spawn, you look at, he had a decent finish last week, but you look how he got it done. He's not good with the putter. He's never a guy that very often pops with the putter. I don't
Approach for Spawn, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't trust him there. We already talked about Glover. So I think tier 2, the last guy we haven't talked about in that price range is where I'm most interested is Steven Yeager. He's 10-2. He's not getting a ton of mention share, but the people that are on him are the people that we trust to do well. What do you think about that, man?
Well, Yeager, and again, we didn't really have him as a 10K play, but he's gonna be there off the tee and on approach. It's just whether or not he putts well. And then you want to talk about what a pop putter looks like. Like Yeager's the kind of guy that if you look at his profile, like when he loses strokes putting, he is missing. Well, he hasn't missed a cut since the RBC in April. Just keep that in mind. So he's been really consistent, but he's finishing T50 plus on weeks he doesn't putt well, and he's finishing, top 20 when he does. It's that easy. Like it just comes down to whether or not he can putt. Lost strokes the last 2 rounds out, and gained strokes the 2 events before that. So
yeah, my only hesitation there, I guess, in playing him from like a cash game standpoint as opposed to GPP, is you look at how he scores in DraftKings points at easy scoring courses. He maybe has not shown the ability to go super low like some of the other guys, but he's so solid every category you look at. Like his approach in putting, like his approach is there. His putting can come and go. He's great off the tee. His ball striking skills are great. You look at this field strokes gained the last 24 rounds for easy scoring conditions. He's second in the field behind Doug Gim.
He's probably a contrarian play this week. We're getting pretty low mention share on him this week. Not a lot of conversation. He's probably a guy you can get a little bit of an ownership break. Okay, final thoughts on the Worldwide Technologies Championship. Otherwise, I got I don't know. Are you going to bet on it? I should ask about a betting card. Maybe not.
No, I have a betting card.
You want to parlay it with an over/under on the Iowa? Who are they playing this weekend?
Northwestern,
29.5.
Oh, so many hot takes about Iowa. So many hot takes. I'm not betting it, but it's not because I'm not interested in betting it. It's just a situation of the means of where we live. So
understood. Before we wrap up, you texted me this. Actually, you didn't even text me it. You sent me a link in an email. Did you realize that?
Yes, because my phone was charging and I was on my computer, the window between doing one bedtime and going to the neighbor's fire, prepping for the pod, and I saw that. So I was
Okay.
like, well, I need to tell Mike about this, but my phone was charging.
All
So
right. So do you want to just recap this whole DK scoring error at the Zozo? Like, this is fascinating.
yeah, it's kind of scary, to be honest, because it's
Super
not
scary.
something I ever think of. So DraftKings completely. So shout out to Nelson Adcock on Twitter, big DFS player, big and he's part of Cut Sweats, but I believe he's also pretty active in the Discord community as well with DraftKings. That the Mike and Jordan are more
Mhm.
active than I am, but anyway, um, at the Zozo Championship, they really lack of better term, fucked up scoring on DraftKings because they had some golfers. Sam Ryder was one of them. They scored them as if they started on 1 when they started on 18 or on 10. Sorry. So they started on the back. So all their scoring is off. Like they have Sam Ryder getting worse than a double bogey, 2 double bogeys, 2 bogeys, an eagle, and a par and 5 birdies and 7 pars on his round. When in reality, he shot a 72. He had a double, 2 bogeys, and 2 birdies. Well, for how DraftKings scores things, the 7 pars, 5 birdies, 1 eagle, 2 double bogeys, 2 double bogey, or 2 bogeys, 2 double bogeys, and 1 worse than double bogey. That's actually a much better way to score from a DraftKings perspective than what Sam Ryder did. So 2 takeaways there is A, it gives you a profile of the golfers you want to target that can go out and
Yeah,
get
it's
eagles, and who cares about
72 both
bogeys?
ways, right?
Yeah,
72.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But secondly, it's scary. We're relying on these guys to contest, and they didn't catch it until people freaked out about it. And like Nelson here, his price difference was like he was going to get a $400 difference. He had to calculate that and bring it to DraftKings' attention.
Mhm.
And that's just saying, hey, if you scored my guy right, how much I would have got. Not if you also misscored other people, which the more people dug into it, it happened.
Yeah, they found
And
Michael Kim. Same bit for him in round 1. On Sam Ryder, the difference was 11 DK points. So he was 35. He was given 30, almost 35 points with his errorness round, and when he should have scored 23 and a half. And 11 points is a lot when you're a big time player and the margin of error is so small in these big contests. That's a really, really big deal. He was pretty frustrated, it seemed like, in the Twitter thread that DraftKings hadn't responded very quickly and corrected this. And it looked like it was going to get resolved. There was some chatter that it was going to get resolved, but um, it's scary. That is a great point. It's scary. I've never gone back to check to make sure that a player was awarded the right number of points. And I'm not quite sure how you would have checked. Now, maybe if you're a big time player, you would. Other than when I saw Sam Ryder's round, if I would have expanded his stats in the DK app, I would have been like, wow, that seems like a really crazy round. Like multiple doubles, worse than bogeys, also an eagle and 5 birdies. I would want to know what would have happened and maybe I would have gone and looked into it. But I would never think to audit the scores of my players after an event.
I agree. And like I said, like you said, I guess there was a response eventually in this Twitter thread from someone from with DK that it had never happened before, and it took a while for them to straighten it out because it was a manual process. But it took 4 days. Uh, I wouldn't think this would be something we ever had to worry about in a legit PGA event with shot link data. I'm hoping maybe that's why it was an issue because it was Zozo. We didn't have full shot length. We didn't have all the stroke scan data like we normally would.
This was a matter of just putting the wrong scores on the wrong holes.
Yeah, yeah. But they have some sort of input, so maybe I would hope
Yeah.
this triggers some sort of check and balance process. to your point, I would never audit it, but at the same time, I probably would have, if I happened to expand Sam Ryder, been like, wow, since when does a PGA Tour pro have a worse than double bogey, 2 doubles, and an eagle, and 5 birdies in a row?
Kind of guy I want to target for the Worldwide Technologies Championship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody should be making double bogeys on that golf course. I don't even know. I don't know where they are.
Just change that to 1 par, 5 bogeys, 2 double bogeys, 2 triple bogeys, and 1 worse than triple bogey, and you got a Kyle Langren right there.
Kyle, with that, it's the end of the golf season for us, really. We're in full simulator season. It'll probably take like a month here to really settle into simulator season, but I look forward to getting out there with you. I think we got some things we're going to work on with our games.
100%. Can't wait for simulators. First time we get around. I can't wait for some of our special pods here in November, December. We bust out. We got barrel aged beer night coming up. We got weird beer night coming up. It's a good time. Just come hang out with us. We're just having some fun.
I'm glad that you're touting that. If you are new to us this year, go back into the archives, find our weird beer episodes. It's always super fun. It'll probably be sometime in December. I got to start curating my selection for that. But good stuff as always. Thanks for jumping on after a long night with the kids and whatever else you're doing on Halloween. But we got good stuff here with professional golf this weekend at the Worldwide Technologies Championship. You can find our content on our Twitter feed at RTG Podcast DFS, on our YouTube channel, and every major podcast platform. We'll catch up with you in a week on the results of the WWT and preview the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. See ya.